So if I think about this as two separate problems, the one problem is I'll shoot a cannon, goes up and it comes back to the horizon, okay? I know that if it goes up at 88 meters per second upward, right? So we get that concept, right? That it has to return at that same speed. So if it's going up at 88, right? It's got to go down at 88 meters per second at this point. That's its downward velocity. So I'm going to take that, okay, and then use it in another part of the equation. But first, how long does it take to get to the top of the curve? Well, I showed you the trick. You take velocity of the y divided by gravity. It says 8.98 seconds to go to the top. That's the time up. To find how much time it is to go time up. So think about this. This is time up, and this is time down. Both of them are going to be equivalent, okay? So you just multiply it by 2, I get 17.96. Now I'm going to show you how I got the rest of this, okay? And it's not hard, right? What I did was I went here and took a look at this a different way. I took 220 as being how far I'm going to drop. I have an original velocity here. This is my velocity in the y direction at the origin, okay? So I'm using this equation, right? I'm going to go down 220 meters. I'm going to take this guy out. I do not need it. But I'm going to put minus 88 times t here. And it's 1/2, 9.8, which is gravity t squared. So when I work this whole thing out, the real equation looks really kind of wonkadoodle, right? But I'm going to move things around. I just basically moved this one and this one to the other side of the equation. So it looks like this, equals 0. So now I can use the quadratic equation. Now, you know how to use the quadratic equation, but I just stuck it here in the quadratic formula machine because that's where I'm at 10 o'clock at night. I'm just going to put this in here. It gives me 2.22, right? So at this point, I had to go back to my my other picture, okay? And you'll see what I did here. I'll close that right there. So once I do that, I have 17.96. This is just the fall from the cliff, ends up being 20.2 seconds. But at that point, you just take this number and multiply it by your horizontal velocity, which is 416 meters per second in the x direction. You should get the number, the distance traveled is 8,403 meters. So I hope this helps. Like I said, I break it in two problems because that's just how my brain works. I do the top part is just being a normal parabola because I know how to do that. Then I do the second one as a dropping it down, but then I use this type of an equation for doing this. I would just use like this equation, but then you have to use the quadratic equation the way it's set up, okay? This is an even easier way of doing that same problem. I mean, I thought about it some more. Once again, they're shooting off the top of a building, 220 meters tall, and it's going at 425 meters per second. Oh, I should figure that out right here, right? 425 meters per second, and it's at 12 degrees angle. Set it up like it was before. So stick it into this formula. That's the one I was using. It's x equals xo plus vot minus 1/2 at squared. So that's gravity working against the original velocity of it going up at 88 meters per second. So when you plug it all in, now this is the weird part. It's got to go 220 meters down past where you're starting. So it's got to be negative, okay? So it's minus 220 meters equals 88t. That's my original velocity with the time going up, minus what's working against it, which is gravity acceleration, which is negative 1/2 9.81 t squared. I'm using 9.81. Okay, so it ends up being negative 220, 88t, negative 4.905 t squared. And then I'm going to move this guy over to the other side because you're making a quadratic equation. You want him positive. So 4.905 t squared minus 88t, because he's got to come over too, minus 220. And then boom, stick in my calculator, 4.905, and it comes up 20.16, right? And if you think about it, we're just using this equation. It's only one equation for everything. You don't have to break it apart in two. I don't know why I did that. Sometimes I do weird things. You do not need to do that. This is the easiest way to do it. So then you just take the horizontal velocity, which is in the x direction, 416, multiplied by your time, 20.2. That'll give you your range, or what is in the x direction down from where this is. So you got to go fly all the way up and then all the way down over to here. Super easy. There you go.